Hey, thanks for joining me. So today I want to talk about one of the neatest little knives I think I've really ever run across. It's certainly the most unique. It's a little bitty thing made by a company called Warbow, and it's called the Mini Carabiner Tanto. It's a really unique knife. They asked me if I would like to look at one, and so they sent this to me. And when I first saw it, I thought, I don't know, what do you do with that? It's so unique. And we're going to put it on the workbench so you can take a look at it. But as I've used it the last couple of weeks, I have found more and more uses for it. It really is got a lot of great uses, much more so than I imagined when I first got it. And the more I use it, the more uses I find for it. But it's really neat to carry around. I actually got a carabiner built into it, and like I say, we'll put it on the workbench so you can see it up close. But I've been able to clip it on a belt loop and just not stick it in a pocket, just wear it on a belt loop. And it's been so handy. I don't have to fish, especially even like sitting in the car, I don't have to fish it out of my pocket. I can just pop it off one of my front belt loops and put it to use and then close it up. Anyway, let's put this thing on the workbench, let you take a look at it. I'll tell you all about it. It's the Warbow Mini Carabiner Tanto. Really cool little tool. Okay, this is the Warbow Mini Carabiner Tanto. It is one of the most unique knives I think I've ever run across. It's really compact. It's not very long at all. Overall length with it opened is 4.5 inches. The blade is 1.5 inches long. Not sure how you measure that considering there's two almost equal size edges. And it weighs 1.6 ounces. The blade is made of 14C28N steel. And I didn't see anything in their specifications on how hard it is, but I can tell you I've been using it continuously for 2 weeks and it is still shaving sharp. It has not gotten really any duller at all. The blade has a titanium nitride finish. The handle is textured G10, and you can actually see they've got Warbow engraved in that G10. It's just a really unique little knife. There is a nail nick in the top edge of the blade there, and it is a liner lock, like I mentioned. So it comes in this box. It's a nice presentation, and it was wrapped in plastic and sitting in this box like that. Comes with a little decal, or sticker rather. It says Warbow on it. And so it is nicely packaged. And you can see this is the Mark I version, the first version of it. So Warbow is a really new company. They were founded in 2024 and are headquartered in Austin, Texas. The designers of this are a couple of guys, Chris Glaze and Noah Barron, and they got together, and in their paperwork it says that the knife is the culmination of decades of thinking, man, you know what would make this thing better? And why doesn't something like blank exist? And so, from that, we have this knife. Now, it is a carabiner, like I talked about. So you can clip this on a belt loop or on a pack. And obviously the little red anodized carabiner is aluminum. But it works really cleanly. As I mentioned, the knife is a liner lock. And while you probably can't see it, let me see if I can get close enough so you might be able to tell. There are actually bearings on either side, ball bearings, assemblies on either side of that blade. And it's fully lined. So this carabiner, the hook on this is going to be really rigid and strong because of these liners. And the liner lock, the tab on it sticks up just enough that you can easily manipulate it. It doesn't really need to be any taller than that. It does take a pretty smart snap to open it. If you kind of weak finger it, it might not go all the way. And I've had that happen a few times, you know, like that. It's just because I didn't give it a smart enough snap. And I have to say, when I first got it, it was a little harder to get it to work like that than it is now. It has kind of broken in a little bit. But I have been using it over the last few days just extensively, and it, you know, the more I mess around with it, the more I find good things you could do with it. One of the things is opening packages, and so here we have a small box, and I mean, any knife, you know, you could slide under the edge of the, you know, edges of the knife, but the thing, or the edge of the box and open it. The thing I found really unique about this is instead of using the tip to open a box, I would use this flipper and this point. The flipper kind of helps me regulate depth, and I can actually score the tape on a box without getting deep inside it. The nice thing then is that you don't run much risk of damaging what's inside the box. You know, it's real easy. You see a lot of boxes, they say use no knife to open it or whatever, or a box knife. And, you know, just stabbing a big long knife in a box and ripping it open is a good way to damage what's inside. But with this, I was, you know, originally I first started using it, I was like using the point, you know. But I quickly found that I could just, again, using the flipper as kind of a guide, you know, to kind of keep me from going too deep. I could just score the tape using this point, and it was great for opening packages. And it, you know, even the little bubble envelopes, it seems to zip right through. The blade is not very thick, really. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't measured it, but it is pretty thin. And it is in a traditional Tanto sense. I don't know if you can make the light reflection on it right. There's two flats. There's one that goes this way and one that goes towards this edge. And there's the traditional, what you'd see on a Tanto, this character line that kind of comes up from that point. You can kind of see it in the light there. There you go. That it shows up a little bit better. So it's ground like you'd expect with a Tanto, and as high up as those bevels go, that makes the edge nice and thin. Another use I found for it is as a marking knife. And if you ever do much woodwork, you know that a knife is much better for marking wood than a pencil is. Gives you a nice, clean, sharp line. And so, for some woodworking I've been doing, it has taken up duty as a marking knife. It works quite well for that. That's kind of cool. Also, kind of played around with. I had this idea, and on some wire it works, and some it doesn't. This is silicone-covered wire that's pretty thin. But I had this idea that I could trap the wire right here and, you know, spin it the right direction. It would stay in there. And it works with some wire and some not others, but I was able to take and just use the knife in a traditional sense like you'd use the strip wire and, you know, separate the sheath and the wire. So, you know, I just kind of been looking for different uses for the knife. Opening packages, you know, just all kinds of cutting tasks that don't require, and most cutting tasks don't require a huge blade. Most of them require something fairly small. In fact, when I just use a traditional pocket knife, most of the time, the blade I use the most, and I think you guys have watched some of my videos, you know I always carry a Barlow around. And the blade I use most is the pen blade, which is really, you know, not any longer than that. And I use this way more than I use the full-size blade. Only if I have a bigger cutting task would I go to that. Most of the time I'm using that, and based on that I thought, you know, there's no reason that this knife couldn't handle, you know, 90% of what I do, and it actually has. Now the really cool thing is this carabiner. And like I said, I have been using it to just snap on my belt. It just, you know, I just snap it on a front belt loop and just hangs there, and it's right handy all day. And since I'm right-handed, I'll snap it on from this direction, and that way I can grab it and just push in the deal and pop it off my belt loop and spin it around and flip it open, and it's ready to use. And you can use this very easily one-handed. I can definitely just push the liner lock over and then walk the blade around with my finger. And have to tell you, this is the best fidget toy. You know, when you're sitting on a Teams meeting that's an hour-long, boring meeting, it's even quiet enough I don't have to mute my microphone, but I can sit there and use this as kind of a fidget toy. But it has just been finding a lot of use. And like I said, one of the great things about it is I have used it extensively now, over 2 weeks, and I've yet to have to resharpen it. I don't have very hairy arms, you can tell, but there's it easily just shaves the hair off my arms still now. And other than seeing the hair on the blade, like I said, I don't have very hairy arms. That's the half Japanese part of me, I guess. But that knife, has been using it just constantly, and yet it's just still sharp. So the 14C28N is certainly an upgrade from what you normally see on knives like this. Normally you'd expect to see, you know, 8CR13 MOV or worse than that, some of the really cheap steels. The 14C28N is definitely a good steel, and so they've made some good quality in terms of, or materials choices in terms of this knife. The G10 scales have a nice texture to them. They're really easy to hang on to, and you can kind of see the pattern on the G10. It's like a checkered pattern almost. And so it's easy to hang on to. The little flipper turns into kind of like a choil if you use it that way. I was even found it really easy to choke up on and use, you know, that way. It works as a scraper too. I found that I was actually, this is wood, not glass, but I was actually using it to scrape some stickers off glass, because you can use it as a scraper. Works very good for that. And so, like I say, the more I use this, the more uses I find for it. This is a blade style that I don't normally, you know, look for. I don't normally chase after Tanto knives. But as I've been using this, I find that this blade shape for this use is really uniquely useful. Like I said, you've got this flat edge that can be used as a scraper or even like almost like a chisel. I did try a little whittling with it, and it works okay for that. It's probably not the best design maybe for whittling, but this knife is an EDC blade. It's made to be carried around and pulled out when you need to cut something. You know, you take care of whatever task you have and then put it away. It just works amazing for that. Anyway, this is the Warbow Mini Carabiner Tanto from Warbow. I'll put a link in the description down below where you can see it on their website. It is really just an amazing knife. Well, there you go. This is one of the really most useful little knives I have owned. I really, like I said in the beginning, I did not imagine I would find as many uses for it as I have, and it's just such a unique design, and it has proven itself to be really useful, and it really has performed well too. As I mentioned when we were looking at it on the workbench, it just keeps cutting and working and stays sharp, and I don't know, I reach for it a lot. Anyway, the Mini Carabiner Tanto by Warbow. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll put a link in the description down below for it if you're interested. Definitely one to look at. I think it's a great EDC item to have with you all the time, or in any kind of pack that you carry around with you. It's just a super handy little knife. Well, I hope that was interesting. If you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I always love hearing from you. And as always, thanks for watching.